Well, for some reason, y'all like icebergs. I try to thrive off some controversy. I try to do some basic self-improvement. And you're like, nah, I hate this stuff. And I was like, oh, a piece of ice in my title. And you're like, oh my gosh, we love this. So here we go. Here is the Study Improvement Iceberg. I'm going to separate this into 3 different levels. All right, level number 1 is the quitting video gamer. All right, so you used to play Minecraft. I'm sorry, this LinkedIn notification makes me look like a tryhard, but which I kind of am. But anyways, quitting video games. All right, you used to play Minecraft, you used to play Roblox, but then you get sick of just being in Discord calls and, you know, getting bad grades. You're like, oh, I want to get better. That's the first level. Okay, second level is going to be the guy who sits in front. You sit in the front row of the class, all right, and just some psychology in here, because y'all seem to like science. There's something called the funnel, right? Let's say the teacher is here, teach. The students who absorb the most information is in this funnel. So let's say this is a bunch of seats, right? The people who sit front row and all the way down the center, they receive the most information. Everybody else here is, you know, you can game and whatnot, but you won't know anything. So the guy who sits in the front, all right? And by the way, you can see a trend here. I'm not including, like, noobs and party goers who drink and stuff at, like, underage, because I assume y'all want to get better grades. Right, get better grades. And third is the nerd who wears thick glasses, a little bit short, wears a NASA shirt, right? Usually gray, right? Like a huge NASA in front, and then raises his hand when just to show their knowledge. Like when they don't need to ask the question, they still ask the question. As you might notice, I've had some bad experiences from nerds, but the thing about nerds is they get good grades. So if we had to condense this into an iceberg, okay, I'm spending too long on this analogy, but we have quitting video gamer, we have the guy who sits in front, and we have the NASA nerd, right? Usually computer scientist. Okay, and this is different tier levels. Now, what is my goal with this video? My goal with this video is to let you get better grades, but not too tryhard. No tryharding. Okay, I'm a tryhard, but I don't want you to be a tryhard because nobody likes tryhards is the thing, right? Now, here was my qualifications. I ain't got no degree, but I've been to every kind of school. So right now I'm in Hong Kong, but I used to go to mainland China. Oh my goodness, friends! I'm assuming a lot of you are not from this area. Like, no, you're definitely not, because you know it'd be censored unless you have a VPN. Might do a video on that, but anyways, in mainland China, the education system is, it is rough, man. You don't study for like 2 days, and you did. You're just done. You're effed. You're done. In Hong Kong, when I came to Hong Kong, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm still gonna have hell, and I studied so hard. And okay, I get 100% every time, but the thing is, you could have gotten 100% with 50% of the work. So the other 50%, you're just in your room, looking at books, and not having any social life. That is sad, and you die. Okay, so you die if you try too hard, you die if you study too hard. I'm trying to find the balance between that. Right, let's get straight into it. So, I'm going to give you 2 tips per level. 2 tips per level. Okay, so that means 6 tips in total, if you're good at math. If you can't do that, then I suggest you click off and go to another video first, just to get better at math, because you need to get good at math. Math is an important subject. Anyways, 2 tips. So first, let's start off with the quitting video gamer. This is something a quitting video gamer would know. Number 1, and the thing is with these tips, they can be stacked, and they should be stacked. You should try every single one of these tips, because studying is different for everybody. Now, with the quitting video gamer, I would say, important thing to do, past paper questions. Now, if you're in a school that has its own curriculum, right? So usually I think it's like in the UK or in America, you have your own curriculum. If you have your own curriculum, you might not be able to do this, but we all know you should do questions. Because what is the test? A test is just a bunch of questions. So logically, right, the best way to prepare for the test is to do questions. If you want to, you know, be good at guitar on stage, the best thing to do is to play guitar off stage. So it's the same logic here. You want to do a bunch of questions. Get asked questions, do them. In fact, I'd say this is not just for the quitting video game. It's for everybody. Every single level, whoever it is, this is perhaps the most important tip in this entire video. I'd even argue that. Because I do IGCSEs. I did IGCSEs, rather. And I just did past paper questions. Amazing. That's honestly all you need. But if you want to really push it, I got more tips for you. So don't worry. Number 2, flashcards. Yes, I know everybody knows this, but I just wanted to mention it for the quitting video gamer because it truly is a fantastic way to practice. And just to give you some value, I suggest this app called Anki. I tried it once. Personally, I'm not a fan of flashcards. I've just never been really used to it, right? And just so you know, all of this stuff is based on the pretense that you're listening in class, right? Listening in class, and that you're taking notes. Do both of these things first. Okay, I assume you're doing these things because you want to improve. I assume everybody who wants this video, who's watching this video, wants to get better at studying. In any case, flashcards, Anki. The reason flashcards are so great is because it lets you remember stuff quickly. It's like looking at your notes, but like W evolved based. It's just better. It's just better than rote memorization, which is just looking at notes and trying to memorize, because you're explicitly putting out a definition for each word and you're doing it again and again and again. This is great for memorizing definitions. Right, so we're done with the quitting video gamer level. I know it's very basic, but we're gonna get into more complex stuff, trust me, more sciencey things. Right, next level, the guy who sits in the front row. So at this level, you know, you don't play video games anymore, and you want to really get good grades. All right, and some people are calling you a nerd, but you own it. Okay. At this level, you probably know something called the Pomodoro Technique. You probably watched a YouTube video on this. This is how you got to know this, because of a YouTube video, or like some random teacher told you about it. Because a lot of teachers do prescribe this method. I personally don't do it. I tried it before, but it's too organized for my liking. So again, remember, this should all suit your studying style. Everybody is different. Okay. I'm not blue-haired liberal, okay, but everybody is different. So the Pomodoro Technique. What is that word? Pomodoro. Probably some Italian guy. Anyways, Pomodoro Technique. It's 20 minutes of studying, 5 minutes of rest. And by rest, I really mean rest. Rest as in walk around and do not study. Don't even think about it. No thinking. Now most of you think I'm a communist because I mentioned that I used to be in mainland China. But don't think, and don't think about the studying at this time. However, I also say, just an additional tip, most people don't mention this, no electronics throughout this whole process. I know, you think I'm some old parent who just doesn't like electronics. Oh, the kids, they're on this social media, and I don't know what it is. But no electronics, because once you get on electronics, believe me, even if you say you won't, and everybody says they won't, okay, even I'll say I won't, we say we won't keep watching past the 5 minutes, but really, you know, we are. So, don't have any electronics throughout this whole process. And this is something you repeat over hours until you're finally done. Then game and stuff. Wait, no, don't game. You can watch YouTube, but don't game. Watch my videos. Alright. Pomodoro Technique. And the other thing is to teach what you learn. If you have a good teacher in your life, this is probably something you've heard before. Teach what you learn. And I found this is why I started this YouTube channel. Because a lot of these things I've learned from watching other YouTube videos or asking teachers, asking professionals, and I'm teaching what I'm learning. And what it does is it kind of deepens the memory. And why is that? Because the essence of teaching, and this is the key point, the essence of teaching is you're breaking down complex topics into something simple and digestible. So you can see a teacher, right? Let's say a professor at a university. They teach a 2-hour lecture. How long do you think it took them to gain the expertise required to teach that 2-hour lecture properly? I don't know. 8 years? 10 years? They're condensing 10 years of their knowledge down to 2 hours. They're giving you the cream of the crop. That is what teaching is. Okay? And when you break down complex subjects into something simple, what you're doing at the same time is you're making sense of everything. It starts becoming clear. First, maybe a concept is something blurry, but then slowly but surely, you make the edges clear and clear and clear. That's what you do when you teach. Not only is it fun because you get to teach people, right? You can grab a family member or a friend, right? Not only that, but you are clarifying the edges of what you know. So that's why teaching what you learn is so great. And plus, yeah, as I said, it's a more fun way of studying, so why wouldn't you? All right, that's the 2 tips for this level. Teaching what you learn, Pomodoro Technique. Okay? Try it out. And last but not least, the nerd with glasses and wears a NASA shirt. I'm not writing all that. What does a nerd do? I've seen plenty of nerds, and I've interviewed plenty of nerds just for this video. So, there's 2 concepts here. They're both biology-based, and they're both, I wouldn't say that they're particularly hard. They're not hard. Not hard. But there's something interesting. So, first of all, and this is going to take a more lengthy explanation, because this is more advanced stuff. First, spaced repetition. There's something called the forgetting curve. I forgot who made it. It's some scientist with a long name, right? Because they all have long names. This is our mind. I'm going to explain this graph in a second. What is this? Well, these curves represent how fast we forget. And this is the number of days. And this is retention of our memory, right? So, what you see is our retention can go down here after a particular number of days. But if we remind ourselves, if we study again at this point, then it shoots back up. And then we repeat and repeat. And the thing is, once you do this long enough, eventually, you'll remember a concept forever. And it's put into our so-called long-term memory. Right? You guys have all heard of this term. So, what are the right spaces to study? From scientific research, what it looks like is, first, you study now. Then, you look at it 1 minute later. Then, you look at it 1 hour later. Then, look at 1 day later. 3 days later. I believe it's 1 or 2 weeks later. Depends on you. And then, it's a month later. 3 months. 6 months. Take a screenshot if you need to. And you don't have to follow this exactly. But it's just, I know it's quite a few repetitions here. But once this process is done, once you're done with the 6 months, you'll remember whatever it is forever. For example, I've memorized Shakespeare's Sonnet 18 just because I thought it'd be funny to say out loud in class. Shall I compare for you with a summer's day, that were more lovely and more temperate? Okay, I'm not doing the whole poem because otherwise, I'm going to lose all of you. But in any case, spaced repetition. Try it out. It's a great way of memorizing, and a lot of people, what they do is they sit there, right, the day before the exam, and they try to memorize everything on a piece of paper, which, first of all, takes a while, and you get drained quickly. But then, after the exam, you just forget it all. Let me ask you this. Let's say that you're probably doing it. Let's say you're some subject, science subject, right? Science subject. You probably separate it into different units. How much do you remember from the first unit you did this year? Or, I'll even bet, the unit before this one. We're 2 units before this one. Before the current one you're studying. Or even 1 unit. How much do you remember? Probably not much, because most of you aren't taking advantage of this biologically based spaced repetition. Okay, last tip. And this one's fantastic. Especially for long chain stuff. This is how I'm able to memorize Sonnet 18 from Shakespeare. I might recite that if you guys commented down below. Anyways, long chain stuff. Like, if you, let's say on a textbook, right, you have tons and tons of words and tons of information to remember. I think this is a really fantastic way of doing it. So this is actually something that the memory champion used. What is a memory champion? So there's this competition, I forgot the exact name, but it's a memory competition where you have to memorize a bunch of cards or some information, and whoever memorizes the most wins. Memory champion, I've read a book about it, I forgot the exact name. It's probably memory something, how to improve your memory. And they prescribed this tip. Actually, they prescribed a lot of tips, but I'll condense it into one thing that you need for studying. Visualize. And no, I don't mean mind maps and stuff. Okay, I don't like mind maps. They're a bit scammy. But what I mean by visualize is picture the definition. And I don't mean picture the words, right? When let's say that you're trying to memorize what is hemoglobin. Okay, we're getting into science here. If you're smart, okay, you know that hemoglobin is something that carries oxygen. Or yeah, maybe you're smart, but you just didn't study. It's fine. It's something that carries oxygen inside red blood cells. So, to memorize this definition, instead of just trying to memorize these words, right, which is just a bunch of characters if you think about it, I might do a video on like exactly how language works in the future. But, anyways, yeah. So, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't just remember the characters. I would picture in my head a red blood cell, which I think a lot of you can visualize like this, and I imagine this piece, something here, okay, just like a black dot or something, right? Because actually hemoglobin is something produced by iron, so I might imagine a shiny metal on a red blood cell, and then I'll imagine a bunch of O's being attracted to that piece of iron. And I'll think, oh yeah, hemoglobin, it carries oxygen for the red blood cell. See, it's a weird image, right? But you can memorize it so vividly. That's why I memorized these definitions for so long. Visualizing it is truly the way to memorize information long term. And just to get into a bit of the science, right? Why is this biologically wired? This is based in biology. Why? Because think about it. How long ago was the first language created? 50,000 years ago. It was just like that was so weird. I'm sorry. Okay, 50,000 years ago. I don't know the exact dates and stuff, but this is probably a generous one. 50,000 years ago. How long have humans existed for? 500,000 years? Again, let's look at this from an evolutionary standpoint. Evolutionary. Before language, and that means before characters were invented, how do we memorize things? We still have to memorize, like, which part of the forest has a lot of things that we can hunt, what kind of leaf is poisonous, which kind of leaf can we eat. Well, you look through visuals. You memorize through visuals, through what you saw, right? So we are evolutionarily designed to memorize things that are visual, things that we can see. So and we're not exactly wired to memorize this random bunch of characters. No. We're designed to memorize trees, leaves, animals, things that we can see. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm transferring these characters into something that you can see in your head. You're taking advantage of your evolutionary biology. So, in conclusion, nerds, spaced repetition, and visualize. Fantastic. And I might do a video on my own personal studying method because it's actually quite interesting. So it depends on how many likes and whatnot I get on this video, because I don't know if you actually like the studying stuff. But so far it looks like you guys like icebergs. You guys like a piece of ice for some reason. I don't know why. So the best piece of advice, however, I can give you is study. Stop watching my video, man. Go study. What are you doing?